Mashiane politically incorrect. I'll tell you what bothers me about this Zondo. Well, please, my Zulu people, again, I'm pleading with you. When I get things wrong, please correct me. So, does Zondo mean hate? Because come to think of it, Zondo might mean hate. And if Zondo means hate, Zondo has been characterized a lot by people who support Jacob Zuma that this man actually hates Jacob Zuma. and I remember when there was a time when Jacob Zuma wanted to recuse Zondo from sitting in his to preside over his matter. There were rumblings there, and people were saying, "You see, that shows hate." Because Zondo said, no, I'm not close to this guy and stuff. But maybe Zondo does mean hate. So let me tell you what bothers me. I keep telling you that no matter how much you hate someone, no matter how much you dislike, let's use the term dislike and not use Zondo as in hate. So if you hate Thabo Mbeki, or if you hate Julius Malema, and Julius Malema is attacked, even if he's innocent, as an African person, I don't think you should join those people who attack him because he once made an error somewhere. So I'm saying, in short, don't ridicule someone even when what he said is right. I remember there's a trending clip where Jacob Zuma says, every time I come here, I'm abused. And Moses Kakani, in his book, he repeats it. The constant abuse, because he's talking about the judges and the whole entire, the culture of jurisprudence in South Africa. That thing is a system that you can't even defeat. How best do you prove that when allegations like this keep flying over left side, right side? So I remember when this thing, when it's unfortunate, they always ridicule Jacob Zuma by saying, but this commission was him. Before he left, he did this commission. Remember when Thuli Madonsela released the report? I tell comrades that this is one of the most useless reports that I've put my time. It was a long report, and that report was perfectly, maybe perfect is not the right word. It was named State of the Capture, meaning, according to her, that report was just telling us how far the state has been captured, because it was State of the Capture. So she was telling us just how far this thing was captured. And I read the entire thing. I was so disappointed. And it reminded me during, when Thabo Mbeki and Zuma were fighting. There were lots of reports. The others were called spy tapes, reports and stuff. And you look at the merits of this thing, you just think, this is hogwash, man. These people are just shifting our eyes away from the actual matter of African people attaining land and economic freedom. Now we are here entertaining the hate between Zuma and Mbeki. And those people they told us they are strategic enemies have long gone. And it was the big disappointment. Coming back to this thing, we spent 1 billion investigating 9 million. This is so sad, man. This is very sad. Just think of it. Do you remember how they justified, how the media justified the use? Do you remember how there were, I think there was said media houses who were at the time using, you were used as tenders. People were hosting the state commission. There were lawyers who were in the payroll of this thing. People were eating, and it's escalated to 1 billion. So come to think of it, so in other words, we are so stupid that we spent 1 billion investigating 9 million rand. This is I mean, talk about the legacy of the African National Congress. And I don't want to speak much about it being targeted against Jacob Zuma. Remember the argument that we said during that time of the Zondo Commission to say, if they are doing it, from when? Because you much rather call it Zuma's alleged state capture. Because that thing, Zondo was actually investigating. Okay, the Zondo's exercise was actually to prove to us that the Guptas and Jacob Zuma were corrupt. That's all. They spent 1 billion to convince South Africans that the Guptas corrupted Jacob Zuma. And they failed. Do you know why I say they failed? Zuma is still a free man. Well, Duduzane, poor guy, lost his deals and the Guptas flew out of the country. The reason I talk about hate and the way we analyze it, I want us to understand that I'm not saying Jacob Zuma is innocent. And I'm not saying anyone who's alleged to have done something is innocent. And I'm not saying the Guptas were innocent. No, I'm saying we spent 9 million investigating. We spent 1 billion investigating 9 million, and we were told it's actually 9 billion. So, in other words, we were lied to by who? The people we trusted the most. So, if you are a South African and want to push something, if they tell you, shouldn't we take money from Zondo to repay this thing? Because if you ask me, the people who are alleged to have captured the state, if they say, well, I'm sorry, it is an error, then let's let them go. If we let go Zondo for saying, I'm sorry, it was an error, then let's let them go. So I want you to understand that. Do you know the difference between 9 million and 9 billion? You know, and I'm laughing. I'm not supposed to be laughing. I'm just thinking. Imagine the difference between 9 million and 9 billion. It's a huge difference. You know, these assets that were told to have been swindled and stuff. Remember the allegation of 600 million that a comrade declined, but he went to the Zondo Commission but could not produce any. It's sad, guys. It's very sad. It's sad that, again, here's another evidence of people incorrectly accusing Jacob Zuma of wrong things when he has not done them. So, in other words, I'm saying the narrative was that Jacob Zuma and his Gupta friends stole 9 billion and collapsed SOEs. And that's not me. That's the narrative that was sold. So, there are court cases that are going to come, of course, of proving Jacob Zuma right or wrong. But I'm saying the narrative is overarching, and poor Jacob Zuma is going to be subjected to, will he, I don't know, how do you even correct this? How do you correct this? Because most of the things that we have, we get it from the media. There are people who have not read this story. They are hearing it from me, and they are not going to read the story. And that's the nature of the media. And that's why it's a powerful propaganda tool. But imagine if every journalist was to produce something and show you evidence. It wouldn't work. So because of that, some of these things then become abused. And I feel sorry for those who are going to consume stuff like this. I'm thinking on top of my head that, can you imagine how far would Duduzane would have went in business. But I still believe he's in business. How far he would have went if they had sat down, investigated the Guptas, they found the Guptas wrong or right. And again, let me say this again. For those who say I'm defending Zuma and the Guptas, I'm saying the state had power to investigate, arrest these people, find proof that these people are corrupt and jail them. They didn't. They are only telling us that these people were corrupt. So I'm saying, if they are corrupt, why don't you arrest them? If Zuma is corrupt, why don't you arrest them? Remember, Zuma's arrest was not because he's corrupt. Zuma's arrest was because he he disrespected our jurisprudence. And I mean, there are protocols of presenting yourself to court and stuff like that. And there are people who say he was arrested without trial. And there are people who say, if you disrespect a court, there are laws in South Africa that determines what should happen to you. And those laws were not overcooked because of Jacob Zuma. They've always been there. And Jacob Zuma made an error, a political error, by not abiding by those things. But, it's a matter of here and there. All I'm saying for now is that 9 billion that was apportioned to Jacob Zuma was a lie. It's actually 9 million. Look at the gap between 9 million and 9 billion. While you're looking at that, ask yourself, did we investigate who stole 9 million by spending 1 billion? And if that is the case, of course it is, because he has admitted. Number two, all those people who suffered the reputational damage, who are no longer receiving briefs, I'm talking about lawyers and stuff, Skakani speaks about it in his book. There are people whose careers are in waters, and there are people who now went to Jacob Zuma after the whole debacle ended, and people are calling them criminals because of that narrative of the state of the capture. So Zondo Commission problems, who's going to apologize to the victims, and what should happen to them? Is it going to be sorry as kiss and then yafela? Advise me. I don't know. And I'm not saying people's errors must not be forgiven. Everyone makes an error. Just think of an error between 9 million and 9 billion. It's a huge error. It's a huge error. I mean, someone should have. So people are saying the reason it wasn't picked up is because it was consistent with the narrative that we're painting. But let me leave it at that. I'm so disappointed. I waited this long for other commentators to speak, and I see a lot of people are not speaking about this. I see a lot of people are not friendly. Politicians in particular are not easily speaking about this Zondo Commission problem. Others, of course, implicated. Like I said, doesn't mean the whole entire Zondo Commission did not pick up bad things. It did, but they're not doing anything with it. So that's why we're saying the 1 billion was a waste, because they're not. Hey, Marshall, politically correct. All I wanted is, before I do this, to have heard other people what they are saying about it. Your Ramaphosa must say something. Zizi Kodwa must say something. Julius Malema must say something. I want them to say something, so I speak, maybe giving you the highlights of what I thought they are saying. Thuli Madonsela herself must say something. Verbally do a press conference. This is a matter of press conference, by the way. All political players must just put. Remember, the Zondo Commission is one of the biggest commission. After an era of South Africans saying we are tired of useless commissions, this commission of inquiry was just a lot of hogwash. And with this coming that they spent 1 billion to investigate 9 million, do you still want commission of inquiries? that will lie to you to say 9 million converted to 9 billion is an error. Machine political incorrect. Let me leave it at that. I'm so disappointed. Thank you.